Welcome to Sports Close-Up. Mike Fiorello, Jim Berger, co-host, and in the middle, Norm Price. And Coach, thanks for coming on again.
You're welcome, Michael.
We're here to talk about the 04-05 Bulldog season, and that was the first year you came back as a head coach.
Yeah, I had been out for a while. Chuck had coached, and then I wasn't planning on coming back at the time, and Chuck came in one day and said he wasn't going to coach anymore, and I thought about it. And of course, one of the things that helped me that year was when Daryl and I are neighbors, Daryl Jones and I are neighbors. He said, well, I always wanted to try basketball, and I said, well, if you try it, I said, we'll give it a go, and enjoyed it. It's always easier to coach when you're coaching with a friend and people that you enjoy being with.
So tell us a little bit. So you take over the team, and how was the talent when you got there, and how did you put the team together?
Well, it was kind of an unusual situation. You walk in, and of course you have Matt Worley, who for my money was as good of athlete, and we've had some great athletes. You start with Journey Brown maybe in the last couple of years, but Matthew was right up there. Obviously volleyball was his main sport, came very close to making an Olympic team. He's the head coach at Grand Canyon University now in volleyball. Tremendous baseball player. And almost as an afterthought, he played basketball and was an 1,000-point scorer and a very, very talented young man. So, you had a great player to build around. And then we had another senior in Ryan Wilson, who a lot of people forget about, but Ryan was a very, very strong defender and a very, very good basketball player. Then we mixed them in. We had a nice mixture that year. Our juniors, there were 3 juniors that had all played a little bit as sophomores: Kelly Williams, Danny Roncolato, and Mitch Schreffler. And they were very nice basketball players. Kelly was a very good baseball player, as was Danny, and Mitch played as a sophomore in basketball. And we mixed him in there. Mike Hyam came in off the bench as a senior and was a tremendous defensive player for me that year. And Dakota Pritchard as a junior came in, and so we had an 8 or 9 person team, which that was good because we hadn't had that for a while, where we had 8 or 9 guys that we could interchange on that. So it was a lot of fun coaching that way.
And mentioning those players and looking at the video, thank you to Tom Leech, by the way, for providing us with this great footage you'll see in a little bit. But it talked about Worley and a couple of the guys. Really a lot of athletes on that team, multi-sport athletes.
Yeah, it was really different from when I had gotten out. When I had gotten out, I had a lot of one-sport athletes, kids that had focused on basketball and went on to play basketball in college. Matthew could have, and I've said this to anybody, Matthew probably could have done anything he wanted to do. He could have been a high jumper in track. He was almost 6'6" tall. Could have easily been a basketball player in college. At what level would have determined how hard he worked. But I had many, many college coaches at the Division II level call and ask, and just said, no, Matthew wanted to play volleyball, and had a tremendous career at Juniata in volleyball, played in the national championship, and then of course went on and tried to make the Olympic team, came very close to making the Olympic team. Kelly was a baseball player that he hurt his arm later in his career, but had professional aspirations to be a baseball player. Danny had been a very, very good baseball player for a long time. So you had kids that had other sports as their main interests, but still, when we took over the job, I remember in the spring when Daryl and I took it over, we just said that, when you can make it, you make it. We tried to do a lot in the spring and the summer that year, and the kids were very good about sharing their time. So we went into the season with a very positive attitude, and of course that year, if I remember correctly, Franklin had a very, very good team, as did Oil City. And then we weren't in the same region as McLean that year, but McLean had a very good team. So you were playing teams that on the state level were very, very competitive on the state level. So you had to be good just to keep your head above water.
Now, when was when you were done the first time? What year was that? Do you remember?
Oh boy, I'm terrible at that stuff. It'd have been Jerry Ambuchan's senior year, so. I think 93. I think I took 10 years off.
Okay, so what makes a coach that was very successful as you were the first time walk away from a program that you really put on the map again. You brought Meadville basketball back. What the point was, people had to buy season tickets to get in back in those days. And you walked away from it. I know you handed the reins to your assistant at the time, Chuck Jones, who became the head coach. Was it a burnout? Were you just tired?
Yeah. I had a tough time separating. I guess you would describe the highs weren't as high as the lows were low. Is that a good way of describing it?
Yeah, it was harder to get off over a loss than enjoy the win.
The team that probably and people, the Brook, I call it the Brook Bright team. I had Brook Bright, Larry Quinn, Manuel Raga, Buka, and Joe Bass. I had a very, very good team. We were ranked number 1 in the state, Quad A, the whole year, and we lost by 1 point to Prep in the district. So they went on, and we did not. Yep. And
that's when they took one team.
Yeah, it was a crushing blow, and it took me forever, personally, to get over it, and I just didn't like what it was doing to me. And like somebody would say, well, you had a son, this, you had... No, I said, really what it was I just didn't think I was a very happy person at the time, and I equated it a lot to, when I won, I was okay. When I lost, I was miserable, and I didn't think that was a very good way to live my life. So I took the time off, and what was kind of neat when I took the time off was, Chuck became the coach, and I got to... it's not like I was able to still watch practices and go to games, and my son was involved in the little kids, so I had a little kid program going. So I was involved in the game, but I really enjoyed it. I think that was good. So now you asked me, I was 15 on, 10 off, and 10 back on. So I coached 25 of my 35 years. So that's kind of a unique thing. But the 10 years off, I think, did me an awful lot of good. And I'll tell you what I did, and it brings back some memories. When I decided to come back, I had been out of it for a while, so I went that spring, and I tried once a week to pick a coach. Like I went down to Franklin and spent a couple hours with Bill Hager. I went up to McDowell, spent some time with Pete Flynn. I went down to Pittsburgh and spent some time with a good friend of mine. So just to try to have those guys, because I hadn't been going to clinics. I hadn't been keeping up with maybe the the ins and outs, the X's and O's type of thing. So I went to a couple college coaches. Phil Ness spent some time with me. He was the Allegheny coach, so that was good for me. I got my appetite ready to go, and I felt pretty comfortable when I started the season that way.
So I got to ask 2 more questions as follow-ups then, Coach. Number 1, were you a different coach the second time than the first time? And number 2, did you make a conscious effort to enjoy every moment the second time?
Well, I would put it this way. I tried to answer the second one. I tried to do that the second time. I didn't take it as seriously. I think the first time I was obsessed with this, like winning a state championship type thing. And, you came close, and we had great teams. And the ends were trying, you were always trying to. The second time, I kind of realized that a state championship was probably not in the cards in terms of, looking down the road and seeing the type. But we had kids that could easily be competitive on the district level. So that way, I think maybe I was. The idea of, like I'll give you an example. The second 10 years, I never got a technical foul. I just was determined not to yell at officials, because the first 15, I probably, I poured my heart and soul in it. And I don't say I disrespected officials, but I got some technical fouls when I yelled or this or that. And I was determined when I came back that I wasn't going to do that. I just was going to treat them with respect, because even though I might disagree with what they were doing, I said they were grown men, just like I was a grown man now. So yeah, I think I had a little better perspective on things.
Now, looking at the video, your first year back, as you said, very talented team. How did the team, react to you, treat you as your first year back?
Well, I was kind of lucky that way, because as I just told Mike, I hadn't disappeared.
Right.
So even though I hadn't coached those guys, I knew Kelly from youth baseball, and Danny from youth baseball, and being involved with Chuck in basketball. And I knew Matt very well, because he was obviously a great athlete, and I had gone to watch him play volleyball and baseball and things. So I did not have that problem of coming in and being totally new to them.
Right.
And plus the fact, I think a lot of them had, I was teaching at this high school, and they knew me, and I'd had them in classes or been around them, so that actually helped. And again, having Darryl, Darryl gave you instant credibility, because not only was he a great baseball player, he coached the Legion team. People have to remember he coached, I don't know if it was called Linesville, but they probably had another name, but the Legion team. And Danny and Kelly, of course, knew, because they played against him, because they were on the Meadville Legion team. So Darryl gave you a lot of credibility that way, and so I didn't have any issues that way.
Was there any kind of a change you noticed, how did the game change in those 10 years?
Well, the three-point shot, when I left, the three-point shot had just started. And that was and Mike had asked me the question prior to the interview. I think most of the coaches, myself included, didn't quite understand it. So therefore, it was there. If you shot it, you shot it. If you didn't, you didn't. No big deal. Let's just play. As I got into my second go-round, coaches were developing three-point shooters in their programs and implementing it into a big part of their offense. So yeah, that was a big difference. There's no doubt about that. The interesting thing that you asked that question, we'll go back, Jim, to like coaching up at Allegheny now. For example, my first go-round, there were a lot of ball screens, pick and roll ball screens. The second time through, absolutely no ball screens in the offense, none. And of course, the theory was don't bring another offensive player closer to the ball where a defender could be there and double team him. Now, up at Allegheny, our whole league is ball screens. So it is a probably. As any sport would be, if you win the Super Bowl, everybody copies what you do. If you're successful, everybody copies what you do. And the trends, if you stay in it long enough, it'll come back around.
Very cyclical.
Very, very back around to what you're doing.
Coach, at the high school level, as you said, you did it for a long time. First time, took 10 years off, came back again. During that course of the first and second time, you had different assistant coaches that you worked with. When you look back at your career at the high school level, did you grow as a head coach as far as the input you took from your assistant coaches and how much responsibility you gave them? And when you look back now, being that you're an assistant at Allegheny, did that help you prepare yourself for what you're doing today?
Yes. The easy answer to that is yes. If Coach Simmons was here, he would be the first one to tell you the head coach goes home and doesn't sleep very well. The assistant coach leaves and goes home and sleeps a little bit better. The other thing Coach Simmons and I always laugh about is, as an assistant, you're very free with your opinions, but the head coach must make the decisions. I was blessed. I had, obviously, Chuck, who was with me for, seemed like ever, but I had Mel Daney. People forget about that, who was a tremendous coach.
Did a great job at Cochrane.
Great. Tom Pa, who's at Northeast.
And back again now?
And back again right now. So I was very, very lucky at having those two people with me. And, of course, Todd Pearson stayed with me as a JV coach for a very long time. So that's something that you probably don't see. And the other thing would be, and I realize that the whole world has changed. But like I was very lucky that I got to coach and teach in the school. For a while I was at the junior high, and that was doable. But when you're at the school, I used to tell people, especially administrators, the ability to stop a problem before it becomes a bigger problem was huge. You remember as an administrator, there were so many day-to-day issues, little things that if they're not nipped in the bud, they then become a bigger issue for whether it be discipline or schoolwork or whatever. So, I was very fortunate that way. And you look around now, when we go recruiting, most of the coaches that we deal with are not teachers in the school, because that's really changed. There's no doubt about that.
Looking at the video from that first season back of yours, what were some of the highlights? What were some of your fondest memories of that season? You saw the Oil City game, looked fantastic, Sharon.
Well, the thing that I had forgotten about more than anything was when the season started, Matthew Worley had been dizzy. He had been practicing, and he'd come into practice and would run a little bit. Coach, I'm dizzy. He would sit down, blah. So finally we talked to his dad. Told his dad, and they took him to see a doctor. In the first couple games of the year, he played very limited amounts because they weren't sure. And of course, you could picture yourself. His dad was the AD at the time, I believe. Put yourself in his place. That Well, I don't know what's wrong. Why is he getting dizzy? So we'd play him a couple minutes, and he wasn't practicing a lot, so therefore he wasn't playing anywhere near it the way he could. Well, around Christmas time, it all went away. And right around the Christmas tournament, and so the first thing that you got your best player back, and Matt, I used to say to Matt all the time, I mean, if he would have wanted to, he could have been a very, very good. I mean, his sky would have been the limit for him in basketball if he would have chose to do it. And he was one of those kids that when you went into other gyms, people wanted to watch him play. He was exciting. And he was a good player and a very, very nice gentleman to coach. So that's one of the things I remember about it. And then I also remember that Ryan Wilson being such a pleasant surprise. I didn't know much about Ryan, and he hadn't played much as a junior. And when he come in as a new coach, other than Matt, basically every job was wide open. Everybody kind of figured Matt was going to be one of the starters, but the other 4 spots were wide open. And Ryan won one of those spots quickly, just with his attitude and his defensive ability. And he's one of those kids that unless you're a diehard Meadville fan like John Matillo or somebody, you forget about Ryan Wilson,
right?
Because
Sure.
of how good he was and what he did for us. And Mikey Heim was the same way. Mikey would run through a brick wall for you. So it was very enjoyable coaching those guys. I really enjoyed that first year. I mean, I thought to myself, because I wasn't sure about it, and when I got back into it, I really, really did enjoy it.
Who was the key player off your bench? Or you've always had a player come off your bench. I remember back in the 80s, it was the David Bloom type.
Yeah.
We always refer to him even today.
Yeah,
that would die for a ball.
Mike Heim was very similar to David Bloom. Very similar. I mean, they were 2 peas in a pod, So I would say Mike played as a sixth man, so to speak, and Dakota Pritchard played an awful lot as a junior that year with 7. And, we had the ability to mix and match there. We had a couple younger guys that were sophomores that played a little bit, but basically those guys, and like I said, we were fortunate to have a pretty nice rotation. We really did.
It seemed like you guys had a very strong defense as well. Just seeing some of that pressure on that video, seeing some of those scores, was that a big emphasis of yours, or is that just kind of the way the guys played?
Well, when I had Williams and Heim in there together with Schreffler, we had the ability to lock down the other team's really good players. We weren't real big. Worley was 6'6", but slender. Danny Roncolotto was 6'2". But well built. But the other 3 guys could lock you down. So, we had a little trouble that year, if I remember correctly, guarding bigger people. We didn't really have like a post presence. But in terms of guarding the perimeter, we had guys that could lock you down. Kelly, if he wanted to, could be a good defender. But Mitchell was a very, very good defender. Ryan was an excellent defender. And when I put Heim in the game, was a very, so yeah, you're right. We did, that would have been our bread and butter. We played no zone that year. In fact, it's funny, as you go through, and again, I lose track of the years, but 3-4 years later, we have a team with James Ness, Phil's son, and Brian McLaughlin and Tony Phillips, and we do nothing but zone because they were so big. I mean, we were really big that year, and we were not able to have the foot speed maybe to guard people like this team. So that was the one thing I would say. I got a little more flexible in my second time through, and instead of trying to fit people into bad positions, I tried to adapt the other way around.
I remember from this team too, and unfortunately this young man has passed on, but Schruff was the little nasty player to come to play for you in a good way. He was a tough-nosed kid, and he loved competition.
Yes, he did. He was hard-nosed. That's the best way. I can remember down at Hickory one night, and if they were at the game or anybody with, like, Hickory had a kid that was very similar to Mitch, and they guarded each other for a couple years. But they have what they call the cylinder rule now, where you think, well, this kid would always get the ball and swing, and he caught Mitchell in the jaw and knocked him out, and the official down there called a foul on Mitch. Now, Mitch is laying on the ground, almost unconscious, and I can remember going out, and I said, you go, and I said, you're going to have trouble explaining this one to me. I said, my guy's laying on the floor here, basically being carted off in a stretcher, and you're saying, well, I think the official realized he had screwed up, but, I still remember that, yeah.
And it has to be fun to coach a group like that with those hard-nosed guys.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
always, I don't want to say the underdog story, but it's always easy to root for guys like that. And I'm sure that they make the team. They may not be scoring 18 points a game, but, their contributions to the team, their teammates really, respect that as well.
You know what's unique, and Mike can probably talk about this too, when you get to be our age, you see these guys now in their 30s and 40s in a much different light, when you see them and talk to them and everything. And that's one nice thing about living in a small town and staying here and getting a chance to run into people. Like I ran into a couple people the other day, and we were just talking and reminiscing about some things, and it's very enjoyable.
So, this team, how far did they go?
We finished behind Franklin in the league. Like when you see in the film, we beat Oil City, finished second, had a good seed. We won our first playoff game, and I think we lost our second playoff game to McLean. And it was, like I said, McLean was a pretty good team. And I think we played them at Edinburgh and played them really well in the game. I'm losing track of who their big guy was. But again, they had a bigger guy. And that was a situation, like I said, where we had a little trouble guarding size that year. But like I said, we had a very, very good year. I think we won 17 or 18 games, and they were, they had to work for them. It wasn't like we were that much more talented than anybody. We had to go in and work for them, and I thought we had a very nice year.
Coach, when you talk about Edinburgh, you must chuckle when you look at Edinburgh, Gerald McLean now, and the guys you coached against, their sons are not running their program.
Yeah, it's funny. In fact, I talked to Brian Schultz the other day. We're recruiting a player, and I needed a tip on the kid, and I called Brian, and you see kids in different. Stoffer's boy is up there. Poncel's boy is at where Fort LaBeouf, I think he's at, and it's again another, as you go through life, that's just another change. You do laugh about that. Mike Piro's on our bench, and
Hager's kids are coaching.
Yeah, Hager's kids are all in college coaching and doing a very, very good job. So,
and like you said, Matt Worley is coaching volleyball. One of your first plays you ever had is now the offensive coordinator of the Steelers.
I was at a family reunion this weekend down in Johnstown. We had a birthday party for an aunt, and my family. That was the most impressive thing that I could tell, because Johnstown is a pretty big Steeler, and of course the first everybody well, you can probably get tickets, can't you? I said, well, that's one thing I said I will never do or ever ask him. I said, he gets hit enough like that. But yeah, that is pretty interesting that Randy's done that well, and I think anyone that had ever been around Randy would know that football was his life. So I'm very happy for him.
And when you look back, you had talked about seeing kids. Do you still get like an email or a call once in a while from former players?
Yeah, it's funny how probably the one I stay in closest contact with is Jerry Ambukin, but yeah, I do.
Who played at Allegheny?
He played at Allegheny, But it is a neat thing. That's one of the neat things about coaching, is that you maintain a lot of friendships, and a lot of friendships even with other people from other teams or coaches or whatever. So it's very, very nice.
And I'm sure a lot of the players as well. I know personally I could say the same for my coach in college, but you look back, 20 years ago I couldn't stand you, but now I see what you were doing and I can't thank you enough. I'm sure you've heard that a few times as well.
I don't know how much that goes, but I would say, like Mike asked the question, or the first time through, I would say those guys would say they bore the brunt of an overzealous, over-enthusiastic young guy, and they probably, I was pretty rough at times on those guys. The second time through, I had my own child at that time, and I think I benefited maybe from. It wasn't like I didn't ever yell at those guys, but I kind of realized that you had to be a little softer, maybe.
Right. You have to be a lot as a coach, right? Even today.
Today is
you
much
have to be
different.
A counselor. You got to be a parent. You got to understand.
I would say counselor is the big one. I mean, I look at what just I see in the college ranks.
The days of, I like Bobby Knight, but the days of his way of coaching are gone.
Forget it. I mean, counselor. I think kids today, and I'll even just use the reference in college, have so many more I'll use the term issues than we had. Now, why they have them, I don't know. Maybe they don't have as strong a family structure, I don't know. But the coach is a sounding board for a lot of kids that need help, and that's right. And I'm sure in the high school level, it's even more magnified.
You know, Coach, I'm going to go back again when you first came to Meadville and how you built that program. We talked about this before, but I want to touch on something you said, because I don't think it should be overlooked on what pressures even at the high school level. When Meadville started winning, and you brought upon this yourself because your team started winning and winning and winning, and the community got, you know, where I said before you need a season ticket, or if you got in by the halftime of the JV game, you didn't get a seat. When you look back, did winning create a monster for you where you couldn't even enjoy it?
It was rough. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'll tell you what winning did for me, and I remember we would talk, and the kids didn't quite get this as much. We would win games, and we would go over things that I thought they did poorly, and of course, sometimes the kids would say, well, we won by 30 points, and I would say, but you're not going to beat a good team this way. Mm-hmm. You're not going to beat a better team this way. So, like, I'm always,
right.
you know, trying to, like, in those days, we had, you and I have talked about this before, mm-hmm. but we'd never beaten teams from other districts,
right.
ever.
Right.
So we had to beat those teams. We had to beat Farrell. We had to beat Newcastle. We had to beat them on the road. Then we had to beat Ambridge. Then we had to beat Aliquippa. Teams like that where, first off, our guys were afraid of the names. You know, just
Sure.
the idea. Because there was no social media.
Right.
There was no internet.
Right.
There was no Pittsburgh paper up here. So this was a foreign thing for these guys. So that took some time to get through that. You know, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, Coach, we want to thank you for a few minutes talking about the team, and we're going to go to the video right now, Jim, and so the viewers can see the 0405 Bulldogs.
None to the hoop. Right hand, left side, board slap. Two-on-one play for Mike. Keep it himself. Readjusts in midair, off the box, and good. All alone for three, and it's good. Bulldogs take the lead, 29-28. Here's Worley off the left side. He'll take the shot for three. No good. Rebound. Put back off the mark. Schreffler grabs his own rebound. No good. Worley put back in. Takes a dribble. Shoulders his way in. Reverse lay-in. Tipped up. Worley puts it back. Now they'll let Worley shoot the three. Rims out. Put back, no good. From Mitch Ruffin, loose ball. Worley. One shot. We got a couple of 30 seconds left in the ball. What's that Worley? Matthews out of the front. Kelly Williams in the lane. A great penetration by Kelly Williams, and he found Wilson under the basket. Tyler Amy, guarded by Roncollato, steps out. Don't call it. Back out. Down on 12 seconds to go. It's Miyako. Finds Cummings. Cummings, guarded by Wilson. Cross-court pass to Fox. Inlet. Amy, back out. Cummings at the buzzer for three. No good. Meadville wins it. The Dogs win. The shot is no good at the buzzer. Meadville pulls out the victory, trailing in the final minute by 1.
By Coda Pritchard at the top of the key, sprung Worley loose for the J. 3.5 minutes in, Warren hasn't scored. Steal Worley, drive to the basket, out. Down low, this is Wilson, turnaround jumper off the back of the iron, bounced a couple times, missed it, but got the tip back. Time to get it done, whoever's going to do it. Looks like Williams is going to penetrate. No, to Wilson, jumper. Oh, there's a big shot by Ryan Wilson. You can't telegraph it. Here is a shot off of the inbound to get rid of the ball. Out front to Johnson. Good play by Kelly Williams. Overplayed the Curran. Williams gets it to Wilson. Now Wilson to Schreffler. Three-pointer will be Paul, and he'll hand it in to Ray Johnson. And Johnson's pass out front, stolen away by Wilson. He'll drive to the basket. That is unusual on the home court. Here's a turnaround jumper. 6 minutes to go in the ball game. 38-27. Meadville knocked away by Worley out front. He's going to drive to the basket. Slam dunk. Well, that brings the crowd on there. See, everybody likes a dunk pointer. That's Worley's second dunk of the season. Now Ron Collada down low. He pulled over Ben Powell going to the basket. No whistle, and Ron Collada has 17 on the night. This would look like LeBron James in another uniform. Rebound Ron Collada. He's done a great job on the boards tonight, too, but he throws this one away. And he comes back to reject the shot out of bounds. We'll go 42-34. 8-point game. Dogs haven't put it away yet. Now, I thought that Wilson was going to throw it away, but the batted ball came right back to Wilson, and he ends up with an easy layup. Wilson has hit double digits, 10 points, 3 double-digit scores, Nick. You got to like that. 45 seconds to go in the game, and here's a takeaway by Delecky, and he'll have an uncontested, well, thought it was going to be an uncontested layup. Like this will be the final 52-37. Meadville is going to knock off Warren by 15 points here tonight. Here comes George Jr. They'll bring it down from our right to our left. Steve Mack brings it down, drives the lane, shot is up, blocked away and stuffed by Ron Collado. There's the pass to Wilson, back over to Worley. Worley back to Wilson. What a shot! What a play! What a heads-up opportunity by the Meadville Bulldogs. And what a
Messer to Gordon in the right wing corner, guarded by Ryan Wilson. Off to Worley. Worley 1-0.
Williams and Pro pitching up for that offensive fouls. And that throws us a steal. Here's a steal. Here comes a slammer by Worley. No doubt about it.
Open left corner, he buried it.
I don't understand it as Worley gets the rolling basketball, takes an easy layup, jams the hoop. He's able to come down with it, 51-38.
45-43 with 1:01 to go. And Meadville will have the ball on the near sideline and a 2-point advantage.
Adam said that if he was injured, he'd foul Meadville. I agree with him.
Inbound to Ryan Wilson. Hickory only with 5 team fouls. Schreffler, bucket and one. The inlet. Schreffler finds Wilson. Cuts immediately to the hoop. Wilson goes back to Schreffler. Inside, off the glass. 6th foul against the Hornets. Schreffler gets the deuce and a possible 3.
Well, where's Schreffler on the sleeping shot? This is true.
Up and good. Second shot made good. Worley with the rebound. And Worley is fouled.
Not a good man to foul the opposition. I don't like it.
Why? What's not too long?
The fact we don't have any rebounders.
I know. Worley hits the first free throw. No Meadville defenders down in the blocks in case Matt misses, and that's faith by the coach, I guess. Second shot from Worley is good. Proves us both wrong, and Norm Price right this time around. 50-43, Meadville up by its largest margin.
It's a good time to get it.
And a turnover. Worley 1-on-none to the hoop. Throw it down.
Icing on the cake, and all of a sudden, the sleeping dogs woke up just in time. Just in time.
in the game for Worley. A 9-point lead for the Bulldogs. Off the left side, Leech will throw it up for three. No good. A rebound. Hyam off to Kelly Williams. Up the floor to Ryan Wilson. Wilson to the hoop. Off the glass. And
I'll tell you what, the box score on the paper tomorrow is not going to reflect the nature of this basketball game.
10 seconds to go. Leech, cross court to Haynes. Haynes, left wing, Watts for three. It's off the mark. Rebound, Leech, swatted by Worley. Worley will hold it. Meadville comes up victorious after the first quarter. It was Hickory 14-9.
We've already seen it a couple times this year. We're going to see how Meadville plays with it this game. Mitch Schreffler will try to steal it away, and he does. He's got a wide open shot down court. Takes the layup. His shot is up and good. 24-8. That's 4 points in favor of the Dogs. 4 points for Schreffler. It's only the fourth point of the second quarter for Meadville. An entire team coming in on the far side of the court for the Rockets. Well, 3-on-1. They'll come back down. Worley looks the other way, gets it down to Roncolado. Great pass by Worley. Shot is up and good. 26-8 in favor of the Meadville Bulldogs. Yeah, we had everybody but the maintenance staff on that fast break. The Rockets bring it down. They'll try to work it inside. Collins looks inside, nowhere to go. Has it stolen away by Wilson. Wilson down court all alone. Shot is up, draws the foul. He'll have a three-point opportunity. Hines over to the far side. Top of the key to Boosie. Boosie tries to drive it inside. Taken away by the Dogs to Worley. Worley all alone down court. Shot is up. Jams it into the rim. And Worley brings it home. There's 31. He draws the foul and get a chance to make it three. Well, showtime at the House of Thrills. And everybody in the student section goes wild as Worley just holds on to the basket and slam dunks it. Well, the student section is in white. You have to be aware of what colors. One night it's black, another night it's red. But tonight the whole student section in some kind of white jersey. I don't know how they communicate that, but I think it's pretty cool. I wonder if they have a secret code going around. They do it in school. The day of the game, they post on a bulletin board or loudspeaker, "We will be in white tonight." Worley will get his shot up. This one's up and good.
Rebounder, and now it's our ball with 2:46 on the clock, tie game.
Inlet. Ryan Wilson all alone. Schreffler looks left, looks right down the middle, and there's Ryan Wilson. Big night for number 24.
17 points for Ryan Wilson, leading the Dogs.
Scott off the right side. Meadville leads by 2. Lavelle back outside to Scott on the right wing. Gardner down inside, getting pushed around, and pulls upends Mitch Schreffler. Are they going to call Schreffler for the foul or Gardner? Schreffler locked him up first. Gardner intentionally takes out Mitch Schreffler. And they're going to call Gardner with the foul.
That's a big play. Off the court. He took a bad fall underneath the bat. If we can sneak out of here. Let's see how Kelly's doing.
He's still on the floor. Worley gets the inbound. 2 minutes to go. Worley into the lane. Off to Roncolado. One dribble. Back outside. To Worley. Worley in the paint. Wilson flies up and in.
And once again, a great pass by Matt Worley. Matt Worley's not scoring in the second half, but he's found the open man.
And I'd say about 7 assists in the game for Worley.
Assists, rebounds, he's done it all.
Barnes for 3. No good. Rebound. Schreffler falls backwards. Williams to Roncolado. Up to 4 to Wilson. Right hand, right side, it's in.
On the Dogs, Wilson with a giant fourth quarter. That's his 10th point of the quarter. The Dogs ahead by 6 with a minute and 24 on the clock.
Scott into the lane. We'll back it off, and a timeout called.
Wow.
Sharon, 51-45 with a $1:18 to go.
I'll tell you what, this is one of the best games of all.
How many points for Ryan Wilson tonight?
Oh, well, he had 11 coming into the quarter. He's got 10 in the fourth quarter. He's got 21 points. Holy smokes, a career night for Ryan Wilson.
And 5 rebounds inbound to Barnes. He'll back his way out.
Wilson on Barnes.
For 3. It's up, no good. Roncolado had his hand on the ball. Worley comes up with it, spikes it off, out of bounds. Last touch by Sharon Meadville. Ball. Worley getting out of the way.
Matt Worley made another great defensive play. The ball rolled off of Sharon Tiger out of bounds. Matt Worley went to an outstanding game tonight. He scored more points in a lot of games, but I'll tell you what, he hasn't had a better overall game this season than he has tonight.
Schreffler to inbound to Worley. Gardner fouls Worley.
Now there's stupidity because of all the guys in the Meadville team to foul, Worley's not the one you want to foul. Everybody else, if Kelly was not hurting. I think he did something to his ankle. I think it's a minor turn.
He's working on that left ankle, just kind of stretching it out, holding it up. Worley's first free throw. Good.
That's the way money in the bank. Matt Worley, once again, 71% foul shooter, best on the team. And that's the guy you want bringing the ball up the court, because Schering has to foul, Adam. They have to foul, so have him foul the guy that's the best foul shooter.
Worley's second shot is good. I think we've got a new nickname. It used to be the Crow. How about Matt the Bank Worley? He's as good as money in the bank.
I think he's a vulture because he just picks your bones. He just eats you alive.
You say tomato, I say tomato. 53-45, 106 to go.
Full court press by Meadville. They want to Schering to keep him from bringing the ball up the court quickly.
Scott, jump stop, swatted out of bounds by Ron Colado.
1 minute and 1 second to go in the game. The Dogs 8 points up. This place is bedlam.
Cherninsky to inbound. Tries to get it in, finds Lee, loose ball, Wilson nearly with a steal. And now Worley comes up with it.
Worley with another steal, I can't believe it.
Up the floor, Wilson, finger rolling in.
The second halftime.
And Burns will sit down. Off the bench comes Jeff Gavin, a sophomore. Loose ball, Hyam ties it up the floor to Ryan Wilson. Wilson on his way to the hoop.
There's a deliberate foul. That's a deliberate foul. You've got to call 2 shots on that.
And they're going to. Ryan Wilson will head to the free throw line for only the second time today.
Ryan, and give the credit to the guys that find them open.
First shot for Wilson is good.
And it's contagious. It's contagious. Ryan Wilson making his fouls. It's all over. It's all over.
58-47, second shot for Wilson. Good.
That's a major victory for Meadville tonight in the playoff hunt.
2 seconds, 1 second. That is your ball game. Meadville wins it 61-52. The final over the Schering Tigers. The Dogs and 6. Meadville picks up its 14th victory on the season.
Short memory, and I think I do, but I can't remember a better ball game by the Bulldogs overall this season.
And made it. Here comes Titusville, take it away by Worley. Worley's shot is up, and it's in, and that'll be Worley's 1,000th point. They will stop the game, and they will award Matt Worley on a steal, getting down court quickly. He'll go down court and get the call in and make it go up and get the 1,000th point. For the fans, I see Mr. and Mrs. Worley over there, John and Cassie. If you just joined us, Matt Worley just scored his 1,000th point of his career, putting him on the number 9 list of all-time scores. Kelly Williams brings it across the timeline from the right side, looks inside, nowhere to go, comes back over to the left, tries to drive it inside, nowhere to go, gets it over to Schreffler. Schreffler, head fake, over to the right side, back out front to Worley. Top of the key between the circles. Looks inside to Wilson. Wilson, shot is up, bounce pass up off the rim and good. To Braun. Braun will come down court, throws it away. Nobody there. Worley will bring it down court. He's got a 1-and-1. His shot is up, good. He'll draw the foul and get a 3-point opportunity. If they can, they'll try to get inside. Williams will slow it down a little bit. Gets it over to Worley. Worley to Wilson. Wilson underneath the Roncolado. His second field goal of the game. Williams takes his time. Shot from 3 is up, no good. Rebound. Roncolado saved by Schreffler, back in. Back over to Wilson. They'll keep it in play. What a hustle play by Mitch Schreffler. That ball is going out of bounds, and I believe he saved it. Schreffler from 3 on the baseline. It's up and good. 22-13 in favor of the Dogs. Boy, does that put a dagger in their hearts. Worley will take it away on the inbound pass to Wilson. Wilson to Williams, back to Williams. Wilson rather than Worley. Schreffler knocked down on the far side as the dribble is taken away by Worley to Wilson. The shot is up and good. In the second half. Kind of slowed down. Well, he'll change that. Shot from the baseline for 3 is up and good. From Roper down court to Wilson. Back to Worley. Drives the lane. Shot is up and good. Worley lighten it up. I know Sooners say that he hasn't had a shot, and he puts 5 points on the board in a row. Here comes Worley and team back down on defense. Here come the Rockets, rather. They'll get down court. Roper to bring it down across the half-court mark. Tries to drive inside of the paint. Shots up, off the rim. No good. Rebound. Controlled by Wilson to Worley. Worley's shot is up and good. Make it 47-27. Timeout, Titusville. Worley with the rebound. He'll come back down court. Has a 2-on-1. Passes over to Kelly Williams. Has the shot from 3 wide open, and it's good. Terry Deeds, Vic Kress. Here come the Dogs down court. So Lucky with the layup. The shot is up and good. Here comes the Rockets. Dakota Pritchard will take it away on a pass. He's wide open, gets the shot. Layup is up and good. The shot at the buzzer. It almost goes in. With the end of the game, 71-44 to Ryan Wilson. Back to Worley. Worley on the far side point. To Williams. Has the shot. This time he takes it, and it's good for 3.
Kelly Williams is one of those are better shooters. They just got to get their shooters in their mindset to shoot the basketball. Kelly Williams with 8 points. Tie game. Kelly Williams and Worley both can shoot from the outside. There's a steal by Worley. Takes it away down court. He's going to be fouled. The shot is up, and it's an intentional foul. It's a 4-point opportunity for the Dogs. And I'll tell you what, pandemonium is broken loose here at the Bulldog House of Thrills.
Worley steals the basketball, goes down, gets an intentional foul. He has a chance for a 4-point opportunity, and that makes it 3. The Dogs go up by 3.
And here comes the Vulture. In the fourth quarter, 5 points by the Vulture, 13 points. The Dogs ahead by 3, and they have the basketball.
Worley gets another shot.
That's right. He got the one.
It was an intentional foul.
That's right. And they're going to get the basketball. So put a circle around this series.
That one's up and good, and the Dogs suddenly up by 4.
A 4-point play, and they get the basketball. A 4-point play.
5:26 left to play. The Dogs go up by 4, and they've got to be feeling it now.
Now you get a basket, and you get a 6-point play.
There's a push underneath Worley.
He gets a foul.
Another foul.
And Worley's taken over the basketball game.
Worley's shot is up and good. Worley's second shot. This one is up. This one is good.
6 straight points by Worley.
Another 6-point lead, and the pendulum has swung to the Bulldogs.
And I'll tell you what, everybody's fired up in this gym.
Here comes Oil City trying to break the man-to-man defense of the Bulldogs. Trying to get it inside. Pauly will try to drive it in.
Technical foul.
Over on the far side, something was said by Coach John Davis.
I'll tell you what,
And a technical is called.
I've been watching John Davis coach for years. He's really even going. It really takes a lot to get him riled up. And he was riled up, Terry, right into the early part of this game.
Worley, another foul shot, and the Dogs are up by 7.
And 7 straight points by Worley in what, about a minute?
Now what has to happen is the Dogs cannot get ahead of themselves here. There it is again.
And they get the ball out of bounds again. Holy smoke, this is unbelievable. I'll tell you what.
Dick, not to say anything, but I will say this. 2 years in this same court ago, in this very same game, the Dogs blew a 10-point lead at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what.
Let's hope it doesn't happen.
I've seen it many times over 15 years.
33-41 in favor of the Dogs. Let's hope they can hold it. Treffler looks to drive inside, passes to Roncolado. Roncolado guarded by Jaziota very strongly. Out to Kelly Williams. The Dogs have to play ball control now.
They try to control the ball. Worley and Kelly Williams.
Williams double teamed inside, gets it over to Worley. Worley down court quickly to Ryan Wilson. Has the shot. Shot is up. This one's good.
Oh, Coach Price is going to.
Oh, guess what?
And guess what the score was the other game? 43-42, Oil City. And we're right there at about the same score.
So the Dogs put Worley in the inbound it. Gets it to Ryan Wilson to Matt Worley. Worley underneath the Treffler takes his time. Shot is something good.
And I'll tell you what, Matt Worley got the ball. They double teamed him, and he saw Treffler break to the basket, and Treffler made a big shot.
The ball is given away down court. The Dogs have it. Mike Graham comes up with it with 6.
Oh, boy. It's upset city. It's upset city.
Worley will go to the charity stripe.
Matt Worley, what a fourth quarter. He only had 4 points at halftime. I think he's got 19 right now. I haven't totaled it, but he's got to have at least 19.
Worley will go to the charity stripe. The Dogs in what I would call a prevent defense.
Worley's 7th rate at the foul line, fourth quarter.
There's the shot, up and no good. 13 seconds left in the game. You better believe Oil City's going to look for 3 from Carl. Shot is up off the rim, no good. Controlled by Treffler. He'll be fouled down court. Treffler will go to the charity stripe with 4 seconds. Folks, this one's history. The Dogs are going to upset the Oil City Oilers and get a big Region 5 win.
Now, if I were Coach Price, I'd pull my guys off the foul line to defense here because it's a 3-point lead already. And, I don't see how they can't beat us with the 4-point play unless we foul them on a 3-point shot. Yep, Coach Price has pulled his players off the foul line. That's smart.
He will not have an empty net goal, that's for sure. Treffler shot. He made a foul shot, and it's up and good. Treffler, who has had bad luck all night, has even got on board with it, and it's up, and it's in. 47-42. That's the insurance they need. Treffler's second shot off the rim. Rebound controlled by Jaziota. Taken away by Hyam. Hyam gets it to Ryan Wilson. He tosses it over. The Dogs have beat the Oil City Oilers by a score of 47 to 42. We'll come back and wrap up this contest at the House of Thrills when we return.